There have been some challenging moments in recent months. We are trying to re-educate our owners. There is still a perception that our rental market is going gangbusters and rents are sky high, and
it doesn't help when that mainstream media is reporting that right across the country there's a rental crisis and no homes available and those type of things.
Funnily enough, there's a lost episode of the show that we recorded last week where none of the technical stuff worked, but we kind of touched on some of this stuff. I've been hearing on the radio and reading newspapers and all those things that this rental crisis of, there's not enough places and must be happening on the mainland. And we've kind of learnt across the journey of the podcast that mainstream media kind of will hit Melbourne, Sydney and doesn't really talk to our market so much.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement into real estate here in the Hobart Marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and I have a very special surprise for everybody out there today. Not only am I joined with Director of Sales, Patrick Berry here at 414, but I've brought in another big gun. His wife, his superstar. Actually, oh my God, I'm so excited. This was my plan all along. Happy anniversary, guys.
It's the anniversary episode.
I was going to say it's also a big surprise to me to be here.
Welcome in. Thank you so much for coming in. We were one team member short, but yeah, Abby, you've joined us in just to tell us all about your anniversary, basically. How did Pat bring the romance?
Oh, wow, that worked well.
It took me for a very nice romantic night away. We went to Crown Plaza. We went to our favourite restaurant, Boa, and he bought me in his words, biggest bunch of flowers from Hill Street Grocer that he could find.
It was the biggest bunch they sold as.
Nice. Yep. That's what it is size that matters when it comes to 13 years of marriage, is it?
That's correct.
13 years.
And I really wanted to show off, so I had the flowers being delivered to the office, forgetting that it was a public holiday on the Monday. I was like, God damn it.
Now no one will know how much I love my wife.
No one in the office knows how much I spent on these stupid flowers.
Well, guys, they'll all know now. There was a giant bunch of flowers. You guys had a wonderful time. But no, thank you for coming in and being part of the show for us today at last minute. One thing I wanted to kind of shout out to both you guys and everyone here at 414 is the awards that have been kind of going on. And I'm not talking about the Oscars. They were on this week. There were no slaps in faces at the Oscars. Hopefully there'll be no slaps in faces in this room today, but we will find out how we go. So what I'm going to do is actually present a sales award to Pat, and I'm going to present a sales award to Abby. So
you get a sales award too, Debs?
No, sorry, a property award.
Property Management Award.
So just for any visual people out there, look at this bad boy, got the trophy. So giving your best Oscar speech, Pat, just thinking about how they all went over the week. I'll just hand this one over to you. And I don't want to have to play the music to play you out, but tell us all about how happy you are to win whatever that one is. That's top 5 agency
top
in all
5
of
agency in the city of Hobart. Whoa. Look, this one means a lot to me, guys. I've really worked hard on this one with my team. I have to thank a lot of people here. I'm going to forget some names, but I'm going to try and get through them all. To my mum, my dad, thank you so much. To my wife for supporting me in everything I do.
You got there.
And to those people that work for us, I guess they get a shout out too. How's that, Az?
Beautiful. That's good. Now over on this side, what have I found? Found top 10 agency in property management here in Tasmania.
Oh, snap.
This one going over.
Yeah, doing me.
Yeah. So here you go.
Thank you.
All right. Best effort at a speech. Don't forget he mentioned you.
Thank you to Ratemyagent. Thank you to my team. It wouldn't have been possible without them. This award is their award. Without them, there wouldn't be a property management team. So well done, guys.
Beautiful. Thank you. It sounds like a bit of a piss take, but we do actually really appreciate. I think the best thing about.
How many more you got hiding under there, Az?
There's about 6 or 7. We can run through the list of all the ones. I think we won Suburb Awards in Bridgewater, Claremont, top 10 agency in Tassie for sales. You got a list there?
I was trying to bring one up, but I'm not quick enough. So
anyway, while I'm spinning the wheels, it does sound like we're making a mockery of it, but it is a really prestigious award in the sense that it is handed out, or the reviews come from our customers, our vendors and clients. I
love the fact that this is nothing to do with how much you write or what story you spin. It's just this is solely on sales volume, properties rented, and the reviews and feedback that people say about us.
Yeah, and then so I've been working on a bit of stuff for the sales team, kind of pumping up a bunch of their appraisal kits with a bunch of the reviews, and it's so amazing to read some of the stuff that does come through. But people saying, I saw about 4 for Janaea just this last week. Like, she must be absolutely on fire at the moment. Everyone's just saying, oh, Janaea. I'm just like, I remember her when she used to be a. Actually, I had
a horrible younger sister.
Yeah, I have a story about her that I was about to drop, and I was like, no, she doesn't deserve that. We'll keep her tyres pumped up high. Tell us about what's going on in the property management department at the moment. You're obviously flying high off some award wins. You guys flew over for the event.
Yes.
But yeah, now that you've come back to earth, what's happening in the department? Maybe losing some people, which is a bit sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, we're lots of words coming out today.
We're busy as always. Property management, there's never really a slow day in property management. So the girls are all working really hard. Finding the market has changed a little bit in the last few months.
Yep.
Properties are taking a little bit longer to rent than previously, but they're just changing the way that they do things to meet the market and
So
get done.
one of the things that we've spoke about in the past is how we minimise like vacancy of the actual property. So I've pointed out to the team, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we normally tend to put a property up early before the previous tenant moves out.
Yeah, absolutely. We like to have at least 3 weeks lead time before a tenant is vacating to start advertising, just to ensure that we can hopefully have someone going in reasonably quickly after the vacate.
Yeah, and it seems to work pretty well. As I think when I was last looking in our data, it was suggesting that days on market was around 24 days, but our actual vacant days on market was only about 7 or 8. So it's a huge difference if you can get, the property started to be marketed well before the previous tenant vacates the property.
Yeah, well, especially at this time where there's kind of financial strains coming on everyone. We've kind of talked about mum and dad investors and people out there. We're not these big moguls that are kind of having huge portfolios. These people who are kind of trying to balance their mortgage while interest rates are changing and things like that. If you're missing 2 weeks rent, it's going to be a bigger player than if you're missing 1 week or trying to get the changeover fee.
And look, the average rent now is like $500 a week. So 2 weeks rent, that's $1,000 out of a landlord's back pocket.
Yep.
They've got to come up with to cover mortgage repayments, things like that. So any downtime that we can minimise is a huge advantage to our owners.
How are you finding liaising with your team and with the landlords out there with this kind of tighter pinch and longer days? Obviously, we're doing things, or you're doing things to minimise the days, but how you're finding those ones that are sitting there that little bit longer? And
Yeah, look, there have been some challenging moments in recent months. We are trying to re-educate our owners. There is still a perception that our rental market is going gangbusters and rents are sky high, and
It doesn't help when
shortage.
that mainstream media is reporting that right across the country there's a rental crisis and no homes available and
yeah,
those
so
type of things.
funnily enough, there's a lost episode of the show that we recorded last week where none of the technical stuff worked, but we kind of touched on some of this stuff. I've been hearing on the radio and reading newspapers and all those things that this rental crisis of, there's not enough places and must be happening on the mainland. And we've kind of learnt across the journey of the podcast that mainstream media kind of will hit Melbourne to Sydney and doesn't really talk to our market so much. Is that what's happening here, or there are more places available? You've just got to be able to rent them out.
Yeah, we from just our agency perspective, we currently have quite a lot of properties available, which is unusual. We have more than we would normally have available, and they are taking more days to rent. 12 months ago we could do one open home on a property and it would be rented. Now we're finding it might take 3 or 4 of open homes before the property is rented. Some of the girls are having to have price adjustment conversations with their owners because they're not renting for the expected price. So it's definitely changed a bit in the last.
Yeah, it just feels like it would be so tricky to be in your position trying to navigate this while, you're trying to have this conversation, say, look, I think we might have to drop the rent just a little bit just to kind of get some people in. We can work on it later. But then, oh no, but I saw on the project last night that, there's not enough houses for anybody. So like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, no, that is definitely the case, particularly with mainland property owners who are not here and seeing what's happening. I think the other thing is that there's still lots of applicants around.
Yeah.
It's just finding the perfect applicant for a property is a bit more tricky than it was 12 months ago.
So yeah, that was going to be my next lead in was, are you still getting enough people to the places? Because there's still people looking to rent, but you've still got to vet them. So you can't just be like, oh yeah, sweet, whatever, we'll chuck them in and then we'll have to deal with all the problems.
Yeah, absolutely. We're still having to be as picky as ever. One of our most fundamental jobs is to make sure that we are picking the best possible applicant for a property, because not only will it cause a problem for the property owner down the track, if we don't, it'll also cause us a problem. And we don't want to be spending our time dealing with a problem that we could have avoided by just being more thorough in the first place.
So if I'm a really good tenant with track record of paying my rent on time, and I've got the ability there to showcase that I'd be a good applicant, and I'm currently renting a property, is there an opportunity there for some tenants to maybe, shop around and find a better deal, so to speak, like by moving home, do you think? Is that?
Potentially prices haven't really dropped, but they're not increasing. So where we're doing price reductions, it's where an owner may have had higher expectations of the market than the average.
Yeah. So it'd be still cheaper to stay where I am and sign a new 12-month lease.
By the time you factor in your moving costs and bits and pieces, you might be able to find a better deal, but
so it hasn't affected a huge amount in prices at this point.
No, we're certainly not at the point that we were in sort of 2013 where we were doing price reductions at lease renewal time to keep people in properties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I've never kind of phased that. So we'll drop the rent to keep you here so that
When I was started in 2011, and between about probably 12 and 13, we were dropping rents to keep tenants in properties because it would cost the owner less to do that than for the tenant to vacate to go and rent something cheaper.
Yeah, wowzers, trousers. Look, it just goes to show that, the life of a property manager changes from here, there and across the whole journey. Yeah,
I was actually just having this conversation with Patrick the other day because obviously I've been around for a while, 12 years.
How long have you been married?
13. Yep.
Correct answer.
And when I started the market and the rent was so different to what it is now, but we're now coming sort of back to that. And a lot of my property managers that have worked for me have only ever known the market to be this amazing things rent so quickly. You don't have to do too much, so easy. And I've always said to them, there will come the day when it won't be this easy, and we're kind of getting back to that now. So some of them are having to learn property management
a whole new skill set
differently because it's not the go and show it once and we're done and we can put a tenant in. So.
And speaking of learning the kind of the ropes of property management, we've had a bit of a shuffle. We've lost Georgia, who was a superstar team member who's gone off to kind of find herself in a creative field. But we've had someone kind of level themselves up from PA to new what's the position?
Portfolio manager.
Yeah. So can we talk about kind of the shuffling? Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So Georgia has left to pursue a completely different career.
We love Georgia, by the way. Just shout out to Georgia out there. Georgia. You're always welcome. And please come back and make us some burritos soon because damn, they were good.
Fun fact, we did recently call her off the bench to do some work for us.
Tell me more about this.
We were a little low on staff a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. There was that day where you came in, it was just like there's nobody about. Yeah.
So I had to put in a favour to Georgia, who just happened to be at home doing nothing.
Oh, I love this. Like doing
She was in condition reports for us to help us out. Yeah.
So it's handy having someone that's in between jobs at the moment so that you can call for a little bit of support if you need it.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, just call her in like the Avengers. Just set out the bat signal, the Georgia signal.
Yeah, so
and then we're lucky enough for Paige to move into Georgia's portfolio.
Yeah, so Paige has been with us for about 12 months working alongside our BDM Jo as her assistant. So she's learnt about property management through that role. And we were able to sweet talk her into jumping ship and coming over to property management. So
yeah, no, it's super exciting. And look, we'll all hear about it soon, but one other team member is departing. It's going to definitely make the offices a lot quieter than they are while she's about. Can we give a farewell to Miss Mickey Moo?
Yes, Michaela will be leaving us after, I think it's been about 2 years. So she's also off to pursue a new career.
Yes.
So she'll be very sadly missed by the entire team.
Ball of energy, that one.
Absolutely.
So shout out to our listeners. If you are thinking about getting into property management, we'd love to talk to you at the moment.
Yeah, so interesting thing, which I think is a reflection of the current market, is the effect that it is having on property management staff. It is getting tougher. I know that our PMs are feeling the effects of being the sounding board or the
meat and sandwich.
punching bag of the frustrations of both owners and tenants, and even looking around at how many jobs are available with other agencies. I think one of the big problems at the moment is that property managers are leaving their
the
jobs
industry,
to leave the industry, which is really tough as an employer of property managers because there's no experienced staff to draw on.
Well, one thing I do love that's kind of bouncing around in the heads of, I know, Pat, and I know you've discussed it as well, you're really into your health and fitness to keep your mental health going and your body, that a kind of wellness idea is floating about and kind of helping out the team. We've done meditations in the meeting room recently just to kind of trying to break it up a bit.
I think as the market gets tougher with what we're experiencing now, both in sales and property management, any way we can help staff not be just physically fit but also mentally fit as well is starting to play a huge role in what we're looking at from an agency level.
So the donuts this morning, they were based on mental strength rather than physical.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Look, you gotta keep the morale up wherever you can. But
I was happy with them.
But yeah, definitely. We're working at the moment on a wellness portal for our staff. As you touched on, we're doing meditation 2 days a week. Well, some of our staff are. They're choosing to start the day with, what are we doing as a 10 or a 15-minute?
It's just been like a 10-minute mindfulness so far, but yeah, I guess we can stretch it or depending on kind of uptake.
We're starting to explore ideas. A lot of us have dogs, doing dog walking sort of outside office hours just to clear the mind and have some social fun together.
Yeah.
And trying to implement a heap of collective ideas around a better mental health just so that everyone, we can work through the tough times and make sure we're all talking to each other and keeping everyone sort of upbeat and happy.
No, look, it's definitely a strength of kind of being able to manage the time of, look, we're having a tricky time with the market, but we still have to look after the people that are in these four walls and part of even the team in the Philippines as well, kind of make sure that they're going out for their monthly lunch with the thing, and you hear these stories and trying to choose, should we have this, should we have that? And they spend the whole lunchtime trying to choose a lunch and then end up on the last place. So they're like, oh crap, we couldn't choose one.
Yeah, and then you see the photos of of our Philippine team having lunch, and you're like, man, that looks good. I wish it was there.
Same.
Patrick and I have actually had them keeping a list for us. We'll be heading back over there next month. So we're told them they have to take us to their best picks.
Oh, I like this.
Their lunches. So we're excited for that.
Yeah, so I think as tough as it is out there, we have got a really good team, and everyone is handling the pressures of the new industry or the new market quite well. But as a company, there's definitely things we can do better to help ensure everyone feels good at work and enjoys coming to work each day.
Yeah, and look, again, we've tried to put the fun into real estate. We try and keep a light-filled area with lots of colourfulness.
Colourfulness.
I was looking at the screen behind me and all these colours were popping up and I'm like, yeah, talk about colours. No, like I was only describing to someone the other day, it's just saying that our agency tries to be not your corporate boring space where you come to work and you sign in at the dot time and finish. It's kind of, we want people to feel like it's a family company and it's,
and look, real estate's a tough gig, but it doesn't mean that you can't have fun doing it.
Exactly.
So that's what we aim to do, and that's what we'll continue to work forward with.
And who wants to come to a boring workplace every day? I know I don't. So
100%, which is why we have a fun little room like this where we get to talk into microphones, accept awards.
And how we win these big bad boys.
Yeah.
It's a team that's awesome to work with.
Oh, and just, look, we haven't had a chance of speaking of awards. Yeah, just walking behind us just now was another award recipient. We should we'll just touch on it really quickly before we go. We might try and get him in the studio next week.
Yeah, so
give us the rundown of...
We did, not us. Chris, as an individual, picked up quite a prestigious award last week at the Real Estate Institute of Australia Awards. They're probably one of the highest accolades of awards you could potentially win in the industry.
Yeah, so this isn't one that's kind of by the reviews of the people. This is the actual whole industry.
Yeah, so this is starts at the state level, so you've got to win your state event first, so the REIT Awards.
Yep.
You've got to win your category there, and then the winners of each state progress through to compete at the national awards. And this year Chris McGregor was lucky enough to win the President's Award at the REIAs, which is massive massive award.
Yeah, so yeah, this like it's hard to kind of quantify how huge this is, like across the whole country.
Yeah, so basically the President's Award is, as it sounds, the president of the REIA selects who they believe is a worthy winner of it.
Yep.
And they have to have given back to the industry. They have to have provided value to the industry in ways outside of just servicing clients. So
yeah, and if you were to go through the list of things, which we've got a blog post put together about the win, but basically if you go through the list of ways that Chris has been involved in the industry over the last 40 years, it actually is
worthy recipient.
It was just so hard to even put the blog together. I was like, holy moly, there's a lot of stuff in here.
so might have to get him on next week to run through it in a bit more.
We'll try and get his son in as well. We don't know where he is this morning, but I'm sure he'll be about.
He's here.
That's why Abbey was last minute, because his son didn't turn up.
That's right. I'm sure he's got important stuff going on. But yeah, shout out to that. So yeah, awards ahoy, tricky market out there. But yeah, lots of fun here at 4 and 4, and we do appreciate anyone out there that listens along to the Property Pod that's along with us for the ride, and anyone that's here for the 4 and 4 journey. Shout out if you need anything, like, share, subscribe to all the things that we like to tell you. This is the wrap up. And
thanks for listening to us for another week.
Yes. The only other thing I've got is the footy starts this week, and the footy tipping contest. They're almost at 300.
300 entrants.
Yeah, they're almost at 300. So we started the first year and we had about 110. We're almost at 300. If you're listening to this, oh no, when this goes out, the footy season's already started.
It's already started.
Don't worry. I'm going to say we hit 300.
Join, but you're going to be
one round behind.
One round behind.
Yes, exactly.
So just so you know, you're going to have to be an incredibly good tipper to be able to get back up in the ladder.
But there's also the weekly prizes. There's heaps of support on that. So yeah, just a shout out to those guys. But yeah, watch the 4 and 4 Facebook for their weekly wrap ups and hijinks that they like to talk with Sean and Marty. Always entertaining. It's like the footy show's back. But yes, thank you, Abbey, so much for coming in. Congrats again on the anniversary, on the award, on being a superstar at 4 and 4.
Thanks very much.
No problem. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. You have been listening to the Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.